Welcome back to the second part of my conversation with Reggie Williams, the NFL legend, former Disney executive, and author of Resilient by Nature. He's going to tell us his key tips, what it really takes to be and stay resilient.
You don't quit in a vacuum. And so when I try to communicate, my quitting to my roommates, that was unacceptable. And I realized that I'm not quitting in a vacuum, that my quitting affects other people.
Coming back to your book, and we talked about losing focus, resilience. Let's talk about quitting. There was another very interesting part in your book where you're talking about, okay, quitting is just something that one can consider doing. Another quote, again, one that, like I said, I have to share it. Let me just see whether I find it here. There you go. And that refers to, you're still at Dartmouth College, okay, and you are also into wrestling. So referring to wrestling, you said, I had this thing in my mind that somehow there could be some good in quitting, which I fortunately overcame. And then my roommates and frat brothers, Lenny Nichols and Ken Mickens, said, even if you lose every match, you are the incoming captain of our football team. You cannot be a quitter. Frat brother, you will not live here. If you quit, you will not be able to sleep. Now, quitting, talking about quitting, and we all sometimes just say, oh, I just can't hack it anymore. Why the hell am I doing? What am I doing? Let's just do. What is the fine line between really quitting or knowing when it's enough? How did you make the decision that quitting now actually impacts your image, your standing, even your legacy potentially in the long run?
Well, that was an important day in my life because quitting is personal. And when I came to that decision that I was going to quit, it was a personal decision. It was what was best for me at this time. What is going to, give me the best peace of mind. But you don't quit in a vacuum. And so when I try to communicate, my quitting to my roommates, that was unacceptable. And I realized that I'm not quitting in a vacuum, that my quitting affects other people, and that, my responsibility to other people, once I bring that factor into the decision-making, might preclude me coming to the ultimate decision to quit. In fact, I might bear down even more. I might refocus, repower myself. I might have new inspiration to, overcome this circumstance of quitting, which will benefit me in the future, which it ultimately did.
That brings us to the point that whatever you do, it does impact your environment, and not only short term.
Yes, it does. It affects the people who love you, because the people who love you will share honestly the impact of what you are attempting to do. And, that's, part of everything, at its core, which I learned most from my mom and dad, is the power of love. The power of, just continued adherence to positivity.
Yeah. And, that brings me, you're talking about your family, and that brings me to the question of idols. You mentioned also Muhammad Ali and what he did and that you admired him. First question, do you think having an idol and modeling your own career alongside, walking your path with all the ups and downs is really a helpful tool to just say, I don't quit. Losing is just an obstacle to become better. At the end of the day, it helps us.
Well, you live and you learn, and you try to, communicate the lessons that allowed you to achieve success. And in Muhammad Ali, I found a hero. And in my lifetime, I didn't limit myself to one or two heroes. I bring them all on. I need all the heroes I can get. and want to live my life to just be one of many heroes for this generation of kids. But what Muhammad Ali really showed me, that his compassion was bigger than the boxing ring. And that became inspirational for me once I became a pro football player, is that I wanted my pro football reputation to exceed the football field. Muhammad Ali, when he stood up to the U.S. government to refuse induction, to go to Vietnam, he was vilified by most of America, but he was loved by those who were of minorities. And we all knew that no one at Vietnam had treated us near as bad as the white people here in the United States of America.
Wow, that's an interesting one. And funny thing in that order is he turned out to be one of the most recognized humanitarian on the planet.
Yes, absolutely. Had an opportunity to continue a lifetime relationship with Muhammad Ali, and certainly pray that he is enjoying all of the honors that he deserved, and the sacrifices that he made. And certainly look forward to continuing to see where his legacy takes us all.
Yeah, absolutely. And your own legacy. Now,
let me quickly interrupt the conversation to say thank you that you're here with me on the channel. If you do enjoy what I'm putting out, the in-depth kind of conversations, then why don't you subscribe and also hit the bell button so I can keep you informed with our newest releases. Thanks for that in advance, and let's get back to the conversation.
A lot of interviewers, they ask you about, all the injuries you had as an athlete. I think it's to be expected to have had some. And of course, your relentless fight for your leg, which you won, because it was over and over threatened to be taken away from you. So no quitting there against all odds, that's for sure. But would you actually say that the health challenge was the biggest challenge, Reggie?
Yes. I've had so many health challenges that were unique. There's one, just pure pain. I really felt that I had experienced the worst of pain that a person could experience on the football field. I've been knocked out. I've been hit so hard that one part of my body was in excruciating pain, and the other part of my body was paralyzed. And when you retire, you finally say, I'm not going to be able to come back this off season. I've got to retire. My body has had it. And you think you're going to now get better. But instead, I faced some of the most devastating circumstances of my lifetime. The pain that I experienced on the first knee osteomyelitis, that pain was excruciating. That pain was nothing like the devastation of an aorta dissection where you're looking at death within hours.
Yeah.
And that's nothing like a stroke where you feel like you're chained inside your own mind and you can't speak. That was scary. So in each and all of those circumstances, I really appreciate, the doctors that have been there. And I've always appreciated my own sense of confidence in those doctors. You've got to believe in them. You've got to listen. You've got to trust the scientists. And the technology has improved enough that even now that I'm talking about all the worst things I've gone through, I'm still looking forward to a long life ahead.
Well,
and all of us should. Yes.
Yeah, and we all do. And I think it is so true what you are saying, because on one hand you have the science, the technology, listening to the doctors, but still I think the dimension that you added to it, also remembering when you had your stroke, I think the poem Invictus, is you had all the mental tools also to pull through this resilience, this mental resilience to pull through whatever was presented to you as a challenge physically.
Yes, Invictus has been very meaningful in my life. And I'm going to recite it for you just real quick because it has that kind of meaning, because the words, if you allow the words to mean what they are supposed to mean, when you come to those crossroads in your life, this will help you pick the right direction. And Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the first clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And if you believe it, you can live it.
Absolutely. And that turns a victim into a winner, that you take self-responsibility and you just affront it proactively if you can. It's a wonderful poem. And I think in terms of the energy, thank you so much for reciting it, Reggie. Unbelievable.
Thank you, Patricia. It's my pleasure.
No. Well, before I let you off, I still have some questions. I'm sorry. I'm not letting off you, so quickly, Reggie, because as I said, your book is pure gold and so much we can all learn from. Does a good athlete make a good manager?
Unfortunately, no. I'd like to believe that, you can make that transition, and many have made that transition. But, Paul Brown, one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, was never a player. He was a small guy. And yet, he commanded tremendous respect. Forrest Gregg, who took us to our first Super Bowl, was a player. And he was able to communicate his intent because he had a history that we could see on film. And, he was effective. But Bill Walsh, who defeated him in the Super Bowl, was not a player. So I think it's how, you are able to take the dynamics of the game today and see how you can influence it tomorrow to really be on the cutting edge of leadership. And sometimes when you play the game, you're sort of remembering how you played it versus thinking about things beyond your strategy that you yourself benefit from.
Yeah. Interesting. I thought elements such as discipline, strategy, learning from the mistakes, going over the tape, for example, of a game to see, okay, how did the team work together? The way the team needs to be really kind of played in and know what they expect from each other in order to move on as a team might have been a few elements that perhaps an athlete learns during that career and can implement when managing people.
But, I tell you, I've run into some fans that know so much minutia of detail, that it amazes me, and, fans who bet compulsively. I mean, their knowledge of the game is extraordinary as well. So, the beauty of sports is there, as a canvas painted by the players for all time, and different leadership, and can evolve from the whole universe of people who love the game. And that really is not just unique to football, really, in all sports. There's opportunities for people who aren't necessarily, the pros in that profession. That is not a closed shot for everyone.
Okay, last question, Reggie, and then I'll let you off. And that is, I ask this all of my interviewees. Resilience. What are the 3 key tips, insights you want to share? How to become, and stay resilient?
Well, that's trying to bring it succinctly down to 3 things. A whole book. I don't know. I think resilience, number 1, it's got to start with truth. And secondarily, I think it's got to have a sense of love. You know, love is a continuum. It's a continuum before our birth, and it's going to be a continuum after our death. So the things that we're doing in the interim should all be consumed with love. We've talked about truth. And I guess in the terms of resilience, in order for it to be resilient, it has to be persistent. And so persistent, you know, dedication to the truth and the love will drive you through all of eternity.
Absolutely. Beautiful. And I want to finish this conversation off with you, Reggie, and thank you so much for your time, with the last quote, which I'm not going to show on the screen. I'm just going to read it out loud because that really is in the epilogue by Jared Bell. And he says that you said, there is a yin-yang to decision-making. There is a cost to every decision, and sometimes that cost is bigger than the return on that decision. But you live and you learn from those decisions. In the aggregate, every single decision I've made, I've followed a logical sequence of decision making. At the end of the day, I can't regret anything.
That was a great way to close the book. Jared Bell was a great person to collaborate with. The book has a foreword written by Russell Wilson, who is the son of Harry B. Wilson, who was one of my best friends in college. And certainly I appreciate the opportunity, Patricia, to share my thoughts about resilience with your audience and look forward to continuing our dialogue.
Thank you so much, Reggie. Thank you so much for being on the show. Your book is full of insights, really a true guide. I loved it cover to cover. I can only really tell anybody, grab hold of it and read it over and over again, because it's not only something to look into, but to look up to and to grab onto, like the Invictus poem you were citing early on, Reggie. If you have hard times, you go like, okay, somehow I'm going to make the best out of this crisis and turn it into real positive creation. Thank you so much, Reggie.
You got the essence of it all. Thanks for having me on, Patricia.
And thank you, dear Mentoring TV community, for having shared yet another conversation with me, this time with Reggie Williams. If you liked it, you know what to do. There is a subscribe button, there is a like button, and you can share this interview with anybody in your own community and find us on all of the platforms. So thank you very much, and I see you soon again.